Good afternoon, travel professionals, and welcome to today's Jack's Facts training session. As always, thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate your time. I'm Doug Cook. I'm the publisher of Jack's Facts Travel Marketing, and I will be your moderator again today. And today we're joined once again by our friends Christina Zimmer and Mike Adams, representing the Upper Rhine Valley region. As they will share with you today, this region is unique as it's where the borders of three countries meet. Those countries being Switzerland, France, and Germany, and of course they are all connected by the Rhine River. And what makes this region interesting is the fact that your clients can explore these three countries in one trip, and if they would like, in one day in fact, but you'll hear more about that from Mike and Christina. Just briefly, we will have time for questions and answers after the presentation. Please do send us those in the space provided. And also today's webinar is being recorded, and we'll send you a copy of that recording. So please just sit back and enjoy the presentation. And with that, Mike, the stage is yours.
Very many thanks, Doug. Now that you've let it all out already, nothing for me to add. You know, this was it. France, Switzerland, Germany, one region. So no, just kidding. Obviously, we've got a bit more. Very warm welcome from my side as well. We are very happy that you've taken the time to join us tonight. If I'm saying tonight, obviously I'm being influenced by, when I look outside, by the darkness, because it is 8 p.m. in our neck of the woods in Germany right now. I believe, if it's all right, Doug, if you show the video first, that kind of sets the scene and gives people a little bit of a whiff what it looks like, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Absolutely. Let me jump
Wonderful.
into that. Bear with me just 1 second.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, there we have it.
Thank you very much for that. And I hope you now have a little bit of an idea and it got you a little bit into the mood of the Rhine River. Now, of course, the Upper Rhine Valley is not all of the River Rhine. The River Rhine spans slightly north of 750 kilometers from its spring to all the way where it meets the North Sea in the Netherlands. But the area we're talking about today, of course, is the trinational region between the brighter blue and the green, right on the bottom where it says Basel, as we would pronounce it, Switzerland. And we're going to zero into the next slide, and then you have a little bit of a better idea which area we're talking about. Now, usually when you hear about the Rhine, or very often I suspect when you hear about the Rhine, you're talking about the region which is kind of in the pink color, which is close to Frankfurt, which is called the romantic part of the Rhine. Obviously lots of castles there, and that's probably the more famous big brother. What we're talking about is the area which is entirely connected by the river, which is that southern part, which is currently in the red lines. And there in particular, when we dive down into the next slide, you'll see the the particular area we're talking about, and that is Switzerland to the south, France, the Alsace area to the west, and Germany, of course, in that case, on that picture, to the east. It's a rather small area, and as you can see, the distance between Basel in Switzerland and Freiburg, which is the major city on the German side of things, is only 64 kilometers, which is roughly about 40 miles. So we're not talking about a huge area, which makes it rather convenient to experience all kinds of different cultures in a very, very short distance and in a very short period of time, enabling you, as Doug said earlier, to enjoy the three countries if you have to within one day. Of course, we wouldn't recommend it. There are other areas where it's probably more conveniently done, but it is probably a better area to be able to take little time for traveling and lots of time for enjoying. And with that, we're moving to the next slide and into the better picture. The area of the Upper Rhine Valley has roughly a population of 6 million. And now we're cheating a little bit, of course, not in 2020 or 2021, 500,000 overnights. We all know the US as well as Europe have been shaken by the pandemic, and not necessarily are we 100% convinced that we'll reach these 2019 levels in 2022, but I think 2023 we should be fine again. But obviously there are lots of reasons to come in 2022. To name just a few, and probably one of the most important for North America, is the fact that the Oberammergau Passion Play, which was scheduled for 2020, has been postponed to 2022, and I know that many Americans have postponed their trip to Europe for the next summer. For those of you familiar, this is nothing new, but for those of you who are not familiar with the Passion Play, I just briefly want to mention it simply because it is such a large draw. About 150,000 US Americans come every 10 years to the village of Oberammergau to be among the 500,000 spectators. So that's coming up in 22, and if you haven't given it any thought for your clients, you might want to keep it in the back of your mind now. So, and this is the moment, I think, Christina, when you take over. Is that
Yes,
correct?
I will, Mike. Thank you very much for the introduction. So, good evening from Freiburg, from Germany, the capital of the Black Forest. My name is Christina Zimmer, and I'm the project manager for Upper Rhine Valley. We are a cross-border tourism cooperation with 12 project partners from Germany, Switzerland, and France. And we are supporting tourism in the Upper Rhine Valley through destination marketing. The convenient geographical location of the Upper Rhine Valley makes it easy to travel between the regions and cities, all of which are well connected by the Euro Airport Basel-Mulhouse-Freiburg train station and roadways. And as Mike already told you, you can even see plenty of sites all in one day, thanks to open borders between Germany, Switzerland, and France. You can also reach the Upper Rhine Valley via the River Rhine. The cabin ships Viking River Cruise, Uniworld, Crystal River Cruise, and so on carry around 100,000 guests to Basel in Switzerland each year. So let me tell you more about the regions and cities in the Upper Rhine Valley. On the left-hand side, you can see Alsace in France. You can see the cities Strasbourg, Colmar, and Mulhouse. On the right-hand side, in Germany, the Black Forest, there's Karlsruhe, Baden-Baden, and Freiburg, where I live. And below, you can see Switzerland with the Basel region, with the city Basel and the Basel region. So let's start with Strasbourg in France. Strasbourg is the seat of the European Parliament, and numerous European institutions such as the Council of Europe are there. It includes an incredible diversity of architectural styles. Its status of UNESCO World Heritage. Colmar is the capital of wine producing area in Alsace. It's a snapshot of an idyllic lifestyle with its half-timbered houses, its canal, its little Venice district and its flowers. Mulhouse, it's an Eldorado for technology, economy and industry. Mulhouse has been classified as Town of Art and History and in 7 different museums. Karlsruhe, it's the fan-shaped city. In 1715, Markgraf Karl Wilhelm of Baden-Durlach built a new residence. From this palace, 32 streets radiate like the rays of the sun. This unique city architecture still characterizes the image of Karlsruhe. This is the reason for its nickname, the fan-shaped city. Baden-Baden is the elegant city. It stands for spa resorts, gambling, horse racing, dance and theater, a beautiful landscape, a Mediterranean climate, tennis, golf and riding, and according to Marlene Dietrich, the most beautiful casino in the world. Freiburg, it's a Mediterranean city where I live. It's blessed by the sun and surrounded by rolling green black forest hills. The most inspiring monument in Freiburg is the cathedral. It is regarded as a miracle of the medieval mason's craft, surrounded by the beautiful old town and the colorful market square. Basel in Switzerland, it's the artist city. This city is cosmopolitan and innovative. With its world-famous museum and high-caliber events, it has become a hotspot of the art world. So I think I will take over to you, Mike, if it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. If I may just add a couple of things, obviously hotspot these days is not a very good name. So well hotspot could also be in Corona terms something. So we don't want to have these things being mixed up. It's of course it is the place for artists from a museum point of view, from the art galleries, from the fair, the Art Basel, which is very important, but also, by the way, the Art Karlsruhe, which is the city up north that Christina was introducing. Very briefly, trivia or fun fact to add to Karlsruhe. Some of you may know that Karlsruhe is in a certain way closely connected to Washington, D.C. Now, closely connected is maybe overdoing it, But the reason why both are fan-shaped cities, so to say, is the fact that John Adams, the third president of the United States, who was the ambassador to France before he became president, he was the ambassador and visited Karlsruhe, visited many cities, was very interested in architecture, and certainly liked the layout of Karlsruhe, and then adapted the layout and actually got it to work in Washington, D.C. This is why there are these similarities in the street layout. Obviously, what Christina wants me to talk about more is wine and dine, and that, of course, is something that's very special in that particular area. Now, I know we all are aware that there is lots of wine in France, and of course, lots of wine in Germany. But have you ever asked yourself why the wine from the Baden wine road or the Alsatian wine road do not export a lot of the wine to the US? Because there is not a lot of it. And this is why people really enjoy the grapes, and why people from the US visiting enjoy very much that particular area. Most of the German wines which we would get in the US come from the Mosel region and from the Rhine region further up north, but this particular wine we kind of like to keep to ourselves, and it is very enjoyable. And there are distinct differences between the wine on the German side and the French side. Moving right along to the next slide, obviously we have a huge difference between the fine dining, which is, for instance, the case in Baden-Baden, but which is also the case in Strasbourg. As you know, the Alsatian food is absolutely wonderful, and if you go to Basel, or Basel-Land, as we call the outside, then of course we're extremely excited about the particular opportunities. On the one side, the fine dining, and on the other side, when we move to the next slide, we also have the very down-to-earth type food, either on the French side, the tarte flambée, German sausages, and of course you get that as well in France, the charcuterie, and of course you get the raclette cheese and the little pans in Switzerland, and these are the more hearty meals, the more hearty dishes, but you have a tremendous choice. By the way, the state of Baden-Württemberg, which is the state that the Black Forest and Baden-Baden and Freiburg and Karlsruhe is in, is the state in Germany with the most Michelin stars. So you are in a very particular area, which is highly recommendable. Moving along, then obviously we're moving to the shopping, and the shopping, of course, whoops, yes, there we are. And you have in Germany the traditional cuckoo clocks, and I know for Americans it is always believed that the cuckoo clock originates from Switzerland, but I hate to tell you it originated in the Black Forest. But we are so much friends with the Swiss that we do not argue about it. Both have wonderful ideas, and here you have a perfect example of a very modern cuckoo clock. So there are lots of interpretations and different ways to have cuckoo clocks, and if you want to see a real crazy piece, we'll move to the next slide and you really know what I mean. That is the most modern way of a cuckoo clock, and they are collector's items. This one in particular, they fetch sometimes prices north of $1,000, but the one that you saw before, of course, is more affordable. And of course, not only cuckoo clocks, we're talking about pottery, we're talking about wines. I was explaining that a moment ago. And if we go, of course, from France now to I believe it is on the next slide, Germany. No, of course it's Switzerland, because Germany we've had already. That were the Cuckoo Clocks, and the Swiss obviously very well known for their chocolate and their watches. And with that, it moves over to Christina.
Yes, thank you very much, Mike. Upper Rhine Valley, art and culture in the Upper Rhine Valley. The Upper Rhine Valley has plenty to offer to lovers of modern art. One second. For example, the Unterlinden Museum in Alsace is well known for its famous Isenheim altarpiece, one of France's most popular museums. It dates from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance period. The Fondation Bela in Basel, from Cézanne and Van Gogh to Klee, Miro, Warhol and Rothko, this world-famous artist can be viewed at the Fondation Bela. The Museum Frieda Burda in Baden-Baden, it includes 1,000 paintings, graphics and sculptures, and is internationally acclaimed. It focuses primarily on classical modernism and contemporary era. The Augustine Museum Freiburg is an architectural jewel admired far beyond Freiburg, and not only for its construction. It presents art collection with works from the Middle Ages, the Baroque period, as well as paintings from the 19th century. So, slides. Then palaces and castles in 3 countries. You can find them here like pearls on a string. Would you like to travel back in times to days of kings, queens, knights and ladies? Then the Upper Rhine Valley is the perfect destination. For example, the Cardstone Palace. The Baden State Museum offers a spectacular overview of more than 5,000 years of international cultural history. The Hochkönigsburg, in the heart of Alsace in France, invites you to discover almost 900 years of history. Many tours for every taste and age are offered. And also in the region Basel, Basel-Land, you can discover many exciting castles. Then, yes, it's your turn.
I just jumped right in. Now, of course, we're also talking about the area of the Upper Rhine Valley is heavily infected, so to say, with traditions. And of course, for those of you who've been to the Black Forest, you may realize that this picture that we see right now are the traditional costumes that the, I should say, girls, of course, are wearing, and for that, the unmarried ladies. Once you are married, these pom-poms become black pom-poms. Now, people who are a little bit cheeky are saying that is because the ladies are in mourning. They feel very bad because obviously they're now married, and this is why these pom-poms are then in black. But this, by the way, is not something that is only put on for tourists. There are many ladies in the Black Forest who go to Sunday church or who go on the weekends on excursions in their traditional costumes. This is not a typical thing that is being put on for guests. No, it is really something that is lived, these traditions. And by the way, over the last years, more and more. So moving on, of course, there are tremendous traditions. Traditions, of course, when we come to the Rhine swimming. The Rhine swimming, of course, is an event that you should be there in order to enjoy it. You have to imagine you, for a certain period, I believe it is about it's about 1.8 kilometers. I just looked it up to be certain. That you hop in the water. First, obviously, good idea to take your clothes off, put them in a bag. These are the bags that you see. They're watertight, and you kind of drift along the River Rhine. It is accompanied by water police, and so nobody gets hurt. And then at about 15 minutes later, you go out of the water, and it's developed. Originally, it was really something for the locals, but by now it's really become a major tourist attraction. So the swimming is extremely wonderful in the summer when you get a little bit of a chilly makeover, so to say. Moving to the Fasching or Carnival. As we know, we're moving first to the Autumn Festival. Of course, the the wine festivals are plentiful in the area. As we were alluding to earlier, we have the wine growing region on the right and on the left side of the Rhine, a little bit into Switzerland, and of course wine festivals. Every little village, whether it's with 1,000 inhabitants or 10,000 or the major cities, have their wine festivals, and of course their autumn fairs. You see that Ferris wheels are being put up for that. Right now, of course, we are not very happy about the fact that some of the Christmas markets have been called off because of the pandemic. There are still Christmas markets on right now in Strasbourg and in Bâle. Karlsruhe, unfortunately, has been called off, but I think by next year we should all be around. And of course, is there anything better than a Glühwein? So mulled wine when it's around the freezing mark, and you have roasted almonds, and you have Glühwein, you have gingerbread. Wonderful opportunity to enjoy. Moving right along, of course, that was what I was alluding to, the carnival. Now, some of you may have heard there are major cities in a lot of the Central European countries, of course, Germany as well, in Cologne and Mainz, in Düsseldorf. But the more original, the more traditional carnival celebrations are really happening in Basel and in the south of Germany. But Basel in particular, the Morgenstreich, there are very, very huge processions that go through the city, and this is such a festivity that it's so difficult to describe. We may have to ask you to come and to enjoy. And of course, that brings you back, I believe, to Christina.
Yes, to me. Thank you very much. So I can tell you now a lot about the different landscapes of the Upper Rhine Valley. There you can see there's the Black Forest in Germany, the Vosges in France, and the Basel region in Switzerland. So you have there are a lot of outdoor activities you can do here in the Upper Rhine Valley. You can go biking, you can go hiking, you can go skiing, and it's a beautiful landscape here in Basel-Land, for example. There are great hikes, and it's really an e-bike paradise. And but you can do much more in the Upper Rhine Valley. For example, you can go to the spas. For example, there are a lot of color spas in Baden-Baden. You can go river rafting. You can you can explore the regions and cities by old-timers, trams, sightseeing boats, or city trains. You can cruise on the Rhine. You can visit a watchmaking company. You can discover the Basel Zoo. You can craft yourself chocolate on a workshop, or you can just visit the Monkey Mountains. Here you can see There's an experience in every season. In spring, you can visit the beautiful city markets. In summer, you can go on a river cruise. In autumn, you can visit the beautiful vineyards, and in wintertime, you can go skiing. So, Mike, I think it's your turn.
My cup of tea. I love roller coasters, so I insisted on Christina that she lets me talk about that one. Now, I should hasten to add there is another reason why I'd like to talk about it. In a former life, I used to be director of sales for the Walt Disney theme parks for Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And there was one particular area in Germany where the population was very hard to convince, and that is the area of the Upper Rhine Valley, because right in the heart of the Upper Rhine Valley is the Europa Park, a theme park, still a family-owned theme park, in the meantime with also 7 themed hotels. But it's a very special one. Not only is Europa Park nowadays the second largest theme park after Disneyland Paris in Europe, but it's also been named the world's premier theme park for a number of times already. So it's beaten Six Flags, it's beaten Universal, it's beaten many other parks. What makes it so unique is its origin. The family business started in 1780 because they were carriage makers. They made carriages, horse-drawn carriages, of course, in those days. They later on started building circus wagons. And from that, they started to build the first roller coaster in the 1920s. Until in the 70s, they started Europa Park, so not really that long ago, okay, almost 50 years. Nevertheless, they nowadays have a separate entity company, Mack Rides, which produces roller coasters and 3D ride experiences for, dare I say, Walt Disney theme parks, for Six Flags, for Universal, for parks in China, Japan, and so on and so forth. So if you have the time and really take out a day to Europa Park, it is a wonderful experience. And with that, back to Christina.
Thank you very much, Mike. So I would like to tell you more about the distances between the 3 countries. Your perfect city day. This means you can have breakfast and sightseeing in Germany, in Freiburg. Then you have less than 1 hour by car, and you can have lunch and wine tasting in Colmar in France. And then you have again less than 1 hour by car, and you can go on a river cruise and have dinner in Basel. Your perfect nature day in the Upper Rhine Valley. In the morning, you can visit the Black Forest in Germany. Then you have about 2 hours by car to the Hochkönigsburg. There you can visit the beautiful castle and enjoy the view from the Vosges. Then you have about 1.5 hours to Basel, where you can enjoy the beautiful view from the mountain. We also have guest cards here in the Upper Rhine Valley. We have the Basel card, the Schwarzwald card, and the Freiburg welcome card. There you have a lot of things for free, and you can really enjoy your holiday here. So just if you would like to have more information about the Upper Rhine Valley, just visit us on upperrhinevalley.com. I'm sorry. So, Mike, I think we are finished now.
True, and I think for you to dream up a few more questions, we have a short video. Is that correct, Christina? That Doug made.
That's true. That's true. I'm sorry.
And you can come up with the most wild questions, because with Christina, we have a very knowledgeable person about the area, and maybe one or two things I might know as well. We're certainly welcoming your questions, but in the meanwhile, Doug from the famous Jack's Facts magazine will hopefully show the video.
We will jump into that right now.
Oh, he heard the world famous Jack's Facts magazine. And
I had to pay attention to that.
yes, that figures.
Here we go. And there you have it.
And
Christina, I'm going to give the screen back to you so you can keep that website up while we go through the questions and answers.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, I was just turning the screen back over to you so people could see the website that you put up on. Yep, perfect, exactly.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Okay, let me see what we have.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
So what is it that we can confuse people with?
Somebody's asking if we can provide them with the videos that you used today so they could have those as a resource to show their clients.
Christine,
Yes, for sure. Yes, for sure. I can send you a download link. Or yes, and you can forward it. Would this be okay for you?
Sure, that works. Absolutely.
Okay.
I think I have the videos. I could probably attach them to
Okay.
the follow-up email that we'll send people, so they'll have those.
This would be great.
Or at least a link to them. They'd probably be too big to attach, but
thank you very much.
Absolutely. Christina, when you were talking about day trips and getting around the region, you were giving times by car. Are there also options for public transportation, trains, buses, etc., to travel within the region?
Yes, for example, from Freiburg to Basel, you can take the train, and it's about 40 minutes by train from Freiburg to Basel. And to Colmar, I think it's the same.
It's about 40 miles distance. Obviously, a lot of bike routes in that area. And as you know, I think more and more people are aware of the environment, and there are quite a few people who are actually doing these shorter trips also with bicycles.
Absolutely.
So very, very comfortable possibilities, and to really enjoy nature, there is nothing better than hiking or taking a bicycle.
Excellent point. Thank you, Mike. Mike, you had mentioned Obergammerau, and obviously that would be a big draw for people to Germany coming up in 2022. What is the distance from the Upper Rhine Valley region to the village of Obergammerau, and is it practical to combine the two into one trip?
Yes, I can give you the precise information. I am checking that right now to, let's say, Freiburg. We have a distance of approximately 4 hours by car. So remember, distances in Europe are much, much less to what you're used to in the States. I think it will always be a surprise to visitors, and I guess very often to well-educated travel agents as well how close these places are together. However, having said that, it is not an ideal train connection. It would take you about, let's say, 9.5 hours to get from that area. It is just because you've got, on the one side, you've got the Black Forest, and the other side, if you're going the other way, there are not many freeways connecting these particular two areas.
Okay.
But 4 hours is a good measure for distance, and it is easily done. I mean, what's 4 hours? Drive from San Fran to LA, and it'll take you much longer.
Sure. Okay, perfect. Thank you. A question I hate to ask, but I always feel like I need to because of the ever-changing conditions that we're living in now. Can you talk briefly about the current COVID protocols for tourists arriving into Germany and once they hit the ground, what the requirements and protocols might be?
Okay, if you enter Germany, you fly into Stuttgart, into Bâle, of course, the Euro airport. If you fly into any other airport in the Schengen Central European countries, and of course Switzerland at the same time, if you are vaccinated, which currently means the 2 shots, then you're considered safe. You need to register so people can reach you should you have been in the vicinity of somebody with an infection. It is, of course, better to have received the booster shot, in particular right now with the Omicron variant. But there are currently no quarantine regulations for people coming from the US into France, Germany, or Switzerland.
Okay. And is mask wearing indoors required?
It is required indoors, and I think it is something for your own safety. Of course, once you are at your table in the restaurant, you can take the mask off. Now, that may vary from state to state. In the state of Baden-Württemberg, it is currently the case that if you have received your booster shot, you do not have to have taken an additional test. If you have been vaccinated twice, you do need a current test, but tests are readily available in any of the towns and are free of charge also to visitors. So it is an inconvenience. However, once you've received your booster shot, then you're home free. That actually will apply to all of Germany, I think, as of the day after tomorrow. It was a decision today. But I should also hasten to add, while we obviously like to extend the season and have people here in the winter, I believe once it will get warmer again and the 4th wave will subside, things will ease up, and by and large, we know most of the traveling is done from the late spring to the late fall. So I think that is the time of the year when we're rather safe to travel.
Good. Let's hope so for all of our sakes. Okay. It doesn't look like we have any more questions. I will leave the last word to you, Mike and Christina.
Well, pass it on to Christina. She's the boss.
Okay. It's all you, Christina.
Thank you very much for your attention. It was a pleasure to guide you today, this evening, through the Upper Rhine Valley. And Mike, thank you very much for your support.
It is such an enjoyable area. And Christina was, of course, saying she lives right in Freiburg. I can say I do not live in the Upper Rhine Valley area. I live about 100 miles north of that area. It is a wonderful place for me and the family to go on weekends. So I can only wholeheartedly recommend, do come to that area because you can enjoy a 3-for-1 and not only 2-for-1. So with that, having said that, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas season. Stay safe, and hello from Germany.
Thank you very much, and a very happy holiday season to you both. And thank you, travel advisors, for joining us.
Thank you, Doug.
Absolutely. That will wrap it up for today. We will sign off now. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.